Bob here with Yandas Music, and it's the beginning of another school year, and that means many of you are looking for an instrument for your student. We want to give you a few tips on what to look for as you decide to purchase that used instrument. Now, of course, we do have the Yandas Easy Rent program that allows you to get a quality instrument into the hand of your student at a very affordable price, but there are oftentimes good deals to be had on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, maybe a yard sale, or a hand-me-down from a relative. Here's what to look for. So let's take a look at the woodwind instruments. That would include the alto, tenor, or even soprano or bari sax, the flute, the clarinet, and the oboe. So the first thing we want to do is take a look at the case. You want to make sure the latches are in good condition, the hinges and the lining. And you also want to look at the brand. Now, just because it's in a Yamaha case doesn't mean it's necessarily a Yamaha clarinet. So take a look at that brand and make sure that it's a good, trusted, established manufacturer. Now we'll list a few of those trusted manufacturers here. Another way to check is to simply do a Google search. If you find that brand available for sale at a reputable music store such as Yandas Music or another brick and mortar store, it's probably a pretty good brand. If, on the other hand, the only place you find it is the big online store, the online auction house, or maybe one of the import houses, you probably want to avoid that brand. We've found that the parts are impossible to get, and generally they don't play well enough to help your student be successful. I also want to address some of the brightly colored instruments that you might find, the red trumpets or the purple flute or the green clarinet. None of the major manufacturers make those funky colored instruments. And again, we found that you cannot get parts for them, and the quality is generally very lacking. So let's get started. We'll grab this saxophone here and we'll start with that. Now the saxophone and the flute are both made of brass that is then either lacquered like this or silver plated such as this flute. And what you're looking for is any major dents or scratches. Now saxophone, you'll almost always have a few scratches here. That's because that's where the chair is. But you're really looking for any dents there are around the tone holes. Now the tone holes are the holes that go down the instrument and are covered by the pad. You want to look for any dents there. You also want to look for any major dents near the key post. Now the key post, this is the key, and the post is what attaches the key to the instrument. And you want to look for any major dents there. That will cause alignment issues, maybe cause a leak, and it'll have to be addressed. On saxophone, you do want to avoid any saxophones that have the keys on this side of the bell. Many of the older saxes have that feature, and generally any of those are going to be at least 50, 60, 70 years old, and they're probably going to need a lot of work. So avoid any with keys on this side of the bell. On saxophone, we want to look at the pads. We want to look, they should be a nice tan color like this, and they should feel nice and soft and supple to the touch. And you want to check all those, especially up here, make sure they're nice and a light tan and feel soft or supple. If they're super dark brown or even black, you want to avoid it, or if they feel hard and crusty, you want to avoid it. Now you might see a little dark ring around that pad. That's not a big deal. If it's super dark or even gooey, you want to avoid that. That'll need replaced. On the flute and clarinet, the pads are kind of a yellow or a white color, such as this clarinet. And you want to inspect those. Flute and clarinet pads are a little more fragile than a saxophone pad. So you want to look for any of those that maybe appear fuzzy around the edges where they've been worn through or even torn. On flute and clarinet, you also want to look for any white powdery residue on the instrument or in the case. There's a little insect that gets in there and eats the wool out of the pads, and it leaves that powdery residue behind. So there you go, some things to look for as you're considering the purchase of a used woodwind instrument. If you have any questions, give us a call, 308-234-1970. You can also bring that instrument to any of our 3 locations in Kearney, Grand Island, or Ogallala. We have qualified technicians that can take a look at it, give you an idea as to what it will need for repairs, and give you an estimated value on it. You can also visit us on the web at yandasmusic.com. There you can check out our Easy Rent program, or you can click on the little chat bot and ask us this question there.